but it's all part of that cycle, right? So there was a season where that wasn't going to serve me. It just wasn't right. And for someone else, it might be maybe they have maybe you have a new baby. Maybe you have a parent that's sick and you're trying to take care of them. Maybe it's a time in your life where you want adventure and you want to go on a great trip and you want to be gone for a while. It could be a lot of things. Maybe you wanted to go back to school for something. It doesn't mean that your other dream you can't eventually get to it, but you might not be getting to it right now.
Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. As you know, this episode is brought to you by Get Scene Studios, and we want to invite you to one of our challenges that we love to start the new year with. It is called the Booked It Challenge. It's only $28. It starts on February 5th. It's 4 weeks, everyone. And each week we go over specific strategy to help you get more auditions. Then we give you specific tactics to implement into your auditions to help your auditions stand out in a big way. And then we also bring in a casting director to look over auditions so we can learn from those industry pros. So everyone, this is an incredible challenge to help you grow in a big way and also really give you momentum to have the best acting year of your journey. So we can't wait to help you do that. You can also save $5 by using the promo code unscripted. So everyone, it's already $28. Make it even cheaper and more affordable than that. So be sure to sign up, everyone, for our Booked It Challenge starting on February 5th. Now enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski, and I'm so excited to bring you our next guest today. It is going to be incredible, but I quickly just want to do a shout out to those of you that are leaving us a review or commenting on YouTube. I really appreciate it, and we're going to start giving you some love. And so the first person we're giving some love to, it's a 5-star review. Thank you so much. Swim Suze. It says, amazing podcast, great resource. As an Atlanta actor, this podcast is like having a masterclass from high caliber casting directors and those inside the industry delivered right to your earbuds. Highly recommend for actors in the Southeast and beyond. So thank you so much, Swim Suze. I appreciate it. And everyone else leaving a review, thank you so much. And with that, everyone, let's get started. Our guest today is someone I've known for so many years, and I gotta give it up for you, Miss Greer Howard, that I've never seen you not giving incredible energy, smiling, and just being the sweetest ever. So thanks so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, Jesse, it is so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It really is such an honor. And Swim Suze, I agree with you out there with your review. I have completely binged your podcast. I am so proud of you. And truly, the interviews have been amazing. So I am honored to be a part of it.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And it means a lot coming from you because, and we'll learn very quickly, that you are an incredible host. So it means a lot coming from you.
Well, thanks, Jesse.
So Greer, let's dive right in. Anyone that doesn't know Greer, like I said, she's an incredible host. She has done so many different things. And just what she's currently doing to what she kind of stopped doing not too long ago was you're on TV pretty much every single week on the show Atlanta's Best New Homes. Did I do it right?
Yes.
On Saturdays, right?
Yes.
So you break down Atlanta's Best New Homes. I think it's pretty self-explanatory there. And then you were also the Atlanta Braves host as well. Can you kind of break down? I mean, I just love this because you're one of my few friends that legit has made a living in this industry for, I think, the entire time I've known you. And it's so incredible. It's such an accomplishment. So can you kind of break down a little bit of those jobs and those experiences?
Sure. It's been such an honor. And like you said, I'm currently hosting Atlanta's Best New Homes. So I just finished my 4th year. The show's been on air for 25 years.
Wow.
So it's really cool to be a part of the program. And we shoot every week. So like you said, I'm on Saturdays. And it's really nice. I mean, I think every actor, host out there, to have something that's consistent is, really a gift. And so I try to, really be thankful for that, to have that each and every week. And before the Atlanta's Best New Homes, I was at the Braves for 6 years. I was their in-house reporter and host. I did 3 years at Turner Field, and then I did 3 years where it was actually SunTrust Park before it became Truist Park. And it truly was such an incredible, incredible experience. I loved being part of the Braves and that brand. It was really, really fun.
Because you're a big baseball fan, you
Huge.
and your son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, my son learned to love baseball a little bit. I like to think I had a little bit to do with it. He was 4 months old when I started working for the team, so he kind of grew up around the game.
Oh,
And,
man, yeah.
Yeah, we both
He had
love
no
it.
choice. He had no choice.
Pretty much. We had to watch a lot of baseball.
Yeah. Were you already a Braves fan and then like you got the hosting gig and you were like, oh my God, this is incredible? Or you're like, meh, and then like fell in love with it more?
Yeah, so I was a Braves fan, and I had actually worked for a softball show before that. So I'd kind of been in this like softball sports world. I did that for 3 years, but it was kind of a few years before. And I grew up in Florida, but as all of Braves country knows, that pretty much all of the South, roots for the Braves. And so I had always loved the Braves. And when I graduated from college, I worked at Turner Studios, and I got to go down to spring training every year. And so I had kind of gotten to be involved with the team a little bit that way early on. And so to get the job with the Braves was such a dream come true. But I think being a part of the organization and being there, I just fell in love with it more.
So I do have a quick question though, and I think it makes me think of it because I actually had a hosting gig in New York, and I all of a sudden had this epiphany because I went to school in New York, and I was like, I wish I could come back here professionally after I left, and then all of a sudden I realized I've done it. Like I'm back here making a good amount of money. But I'm hosting, right? But I'm like, I achieved this dream. And so I actually want to put that on you for a second because, I mean, I think what you've been able to accomplish is incredible. And have you made sure to look at your journey and be like, wow, I'm really doing this?
That is a really great question to turn on me, Jesse. I am really proud. I think what you don't realize is a lot of people that make a living doing what we do, working on camera, being an actor, commercial actress, a host, voiceover artist, whatever it might be, the majority, I'd love to know the percentage, are not famous, and I'm a single mom. And for me to be able to provide a living for my son and also do something that I love, when I sit and I think about that and I let that resonate, I am really proud of that. Now, I'm not done. I think we're always, that might be a personality thing of always wanting to kind of get to the next level and do the next thing. And I feel like I've got more in my tank. But man, I don't take that for granted. To know that I can do that each and every week, I mean, that is pretty cool.
That's the thing though. And I think how often does it happen for whether it be me, whether it be you, anyone listening, that we're so focused on that next level that we miss the dreams that we're accomplishing and that we miss the things that we're accomplishing and the dreams that we've made come true because we're already on to the next one. And so just being like, yeah, it's so important to take the moment to be like, I forgot that this was a goal that I'm actually doing right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great reminder to have a gratitude practice of making sure we're being thankful for where we are while also making plans for where we're going.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, you don't realize it, but, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's not like it's been easy. I mean, the amount of rejection, I know you're a guy that writes down all your auditions, and I'm the same way. And, let me tell you, I've gotten a lot of no's. And actually, I'll remember with the Braves, the year before I got the job, I knew that they were hiring for that position, and I hadn't been called in to audition. And I was really bummed about that because I had, taken a lot of pride in, I'm a host. And I had my agent call and say, hey, you're not seeing Greer. Why you're not seeing Greer? And they said, no, we know Greer. We're not interested in Greer. She's not the right fit for this role. And I was crushed. And I thought,
This was the year before.
the year before I
Yeah.
got the job. And I thought, oh no, like how am I not even, I'm not what they want. What does that mean? And so I was really bummed about that. And what was so crazy is the next year, the guy that was hiring called me and only me and said, hey, I've been thinking about it. You remember that stuff, those videos you used to do for Softball 360, which was the softball show I used to work for on Fox Sports. And he said, I think you're the girl. We want you to come and do that for us. And it was so interesting that the year before, same guy was hiring. But he knew who I was. He knew because I'd been down to spring training when, the years before. I wasn't what they were looking for. The next year, he said, if you take this job, I'm not interviewing anybody else. So it shows you it's either for you or it's not.
Wow, that's incredible. And I love that you did additional things, right? How to get yourself seen. And I wonder how much of a difference that also made, right? For them that one year to say, yeah, she's not what we want, but then I bet that really impacted them though, because they had to take an additional look at you or think about you, or you know what I mean? Your name came across their desk an additional time for them to, at that time, make the decision and be like, she's definitely not what we want. To then, I love that in a year, be like, you're the only person we want.
Right. And you know what's crazy about that? That year, little did I know, I became pregnant with my son. So you know what? They weren't the right job for me that year either, because I ended up being pregnant, and that wouldn't have been probably the right fit. And when my son was 4 months old, after he was born, was when I started.
Really? So you told them no first?
No, they told me no first.
No, but sorry, you told them no second?
No,
You just said not yet?
No. I'm saying originally when I wanted that job.
Oh,
I thought I wanted it, but I didn't know.
Oh, I got it. It wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have probably worked anyway.
OMG.
Right?
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That is one of those incredible things. Steve Jobs has this quote where he talks about it's hard to connect the dots looking forward. It's only can you connect them looking backwards. And I feel like that is beautiful right there, right? Like you feel this incredible rejection. Like, what the heck? Why do they not want me? But it would not have worked out. You potentially would have started and then been like, I can't do this. And then they would have been like, yeah, it's all right. And then never would have come back potentially.
Exactly.
Wow. So you've been doing this for a while in different, like you said, you were on Fox Sports. You've done all sorts of things. Can you talk about the longevity in this and some things that we need to cultivate as actors, as artists, as entertainers?
Sure. Well, one, keep going.
Yeah.
Don't stop. And I think everybody says that, it's like I've always, I've tried different things. I'm always in this industry. There's no turning back. Here I am. And part of it is just continuing to do the work, right? And I think we all know that. But one of the things I've really listened to, for myself for a long time is being willing to pivot a little bit. And one of the things my mom always told me, my mom was like, you can turn over rocks like nobody I've ever known. And that was sort of the way I approached my career is I was always turning over rocks. I was always really open and knew where I wanted my goal to be, but also I would be flexible based off of what opportunities came along, things that I was thinking of, or, working with other people. So I think it's also important to be willing to like pivot for a season or open yourself up to something that, maybe you weren't originally thinking, but it still can help you get to your goal. And I think when we do that, more doors open than we might have realized.
I love that. Is there a way that we can distinguish when we are like trusting our gut, saying this is a good pivot, as opposed to just bouncing around everywhere and not sticking with it long enough?
So I think that you've really got to trust your gut on that one. And, it's not really chasing after things. I think it's more about when you're open and you think through something and you go, okay, I feel like this aligns, this makes sense. And I've always just been able to feel a shift in myself I feel like there's been shifts, even for instance, when I knew towards the end of working for the Braves, my son was getting older. Sometimes it's other factors in your life that kind of are not even related to your career in a way. Like my son was getting older. When he was really young, it was easy for me to keep him up late or have him sleep in. And I could have him work around my schedule. But as he got into elementary school, that first year, he was in kindergarten and he was at school really early. And then basically like I was going to the ballpark when he was getting home from school. And immediately I was like, this doesn't work. This isn't going to work. And so I knew that something had to change, but I didn't know what the answer was quite yet. So I just told myself, I'm not going to rush into it. I don't think you rush into it, but you just say, hey, I know that a change needs to happen. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to be open to what it might be. And so I was really open. A couple different things came along, just didn't quite feel right. And then basically in December, before COVID, it was 2019, this opportunity came along for Atlanta's Best New Homes. The current host was there 16 years and she was moving on to something else. And I knew it. I was like, this is it. This is it. It's consistent. It's every week and I need that. And it's hosting and I'm not working late. I can go to all my son's games on the weekends, things like that. And it happened. And I knew, even though I was sad to leave the Braves, I just knew it was time. It was time to move on to the next thing. And this was it. And so I did. And I'm so thankful for listening, for being willing to step back and be able to really think about that, not make a quick decision, but to know, well, that ended up being COVID. And my job at the Braves wasn't even there that year in 2020.
Yeah.
And then because we were such a small crew, we were basically a skeleton crew, we worked the whole time. So I had a job. And so part of it, I think that I've learned too, is you have to take that time to step back and get quiet and let your mind think, and then trust yourself. I really think we have to trust ourselves in those situations.
Yeah, it's really just about being open, being ready, having both of your ears ready to go. I remember there's a saying that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for twice as much listening, right? So, I think I love that. It's just being open and ready for it.
Yeah. Another example of that was during COVID, my friend Heidi Rue, hey Heidi, from Atlanta Voiceover Studio, she really encouraged me to have a voiceover booth at my house. Because I was doing different voiceovers for clients, but I would, end up going to their studio or whatever. And then COVID happened. And she was like, Greer, make a studio at your house. Well, I did. So I built this studio at my house. And for about 6 months, I just sort of had the studio at the house and didn't really know what I was doing with it. And then she came to me again. She says, well, Greer, you should get on this website and start putting down voiceovers. Like you'd be surprised. And so I did. And I started doing it. And I've been doing that for 1.5 years now. I booked over 70 voiceover jobs.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I never would have done that. It opened up this whole other level of my career, but it was somebody around me. If you just listen, when she said that, I was like, yeah, she's right. I should do that. And I did. So I think that's part of it too, of always sort of being open. But then, you'll have someone come to you and suggest something, and then in your gut, it's not for me. And that's okay too.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, I want to jump on the voiceover gigs for a quick second.
Sure.
How did you find? Did you just say like, because I'm like, I think that could be tough, right? You're like, all right, I'll make the voiceover studio, but at the end of the day, like voiceover is new or voiceover is something I haven't done before. How did you kind of grab onto that confidence to be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna keep at this? Because
Mhm.
I know in voiceover it's similar or maybe worse as like sending in a self tape for a theatrical audition. It's like, and there it goes, and we never hear anything again.
Sure, it goes into the abyss.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I had done some voiceover for clients, right? So it wasn't uncommon for either, someone that I was like the show that I host for, we might do a voiceover, say, hey, can you put this down? So I was sort of used to doing that. Or maybe a commercial I had been in, they wanted to turn it to a radio spot. So, you did it that way. So I had dabbled in it here and there. But when it came down to it, I knew I was really bookable for commercial work or something spokesperson oriented, a training video, that type of thing. So I just did the same thing that I would do in an on camera audition, but I just used my voice. And so I just started putting them down, and I already had the skill. I was already doing it on camera. So what was the difference to just use my voice and do it? It wasn't that much different.
That's awesome. And I think just being able to connect it like that. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm already doing this. I've already been paid to do something practically the same. Or maybe we could argue voiceover could be easier, because you're not being seen. You're like in your pajamas
In your
and
pajamas.
yeah.
No makeup on. It's amazing.
Yeah. So you're like, this is so much better. But being able to connect that, and that's where you can find that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've brought this up in another episode, is like, yeah, you just need to connect it when you're trying to do something new and you feel like you're lacking confidence. You just need to connect something from that new thing to something you've already done and that you've already been successful at. It only takes that small thing to all of a sudden be like, I can do this. I totally got this. And then as you do it, that confidence becomes even more apparent and even more stronger and bolder for you.
Absolutely. I think as an actor, on camera talent, host, whatever you might be, especially in the Southeast, like why be linear? Like why only do the one thing? Because yes, you are that one thing, but that skill transfers to so many other things. So maybe you would be great at voiceover. Maybe you'd be a good speaker. Maybe there's literally so many with all the, digital that's going on now with videos, maybe you could be a podcast host. There's all of these jobs, these things that are still 1099, they're part-time, they're contract, that you can be using those skills and making money to help you support that living, but still be working towards your auditions and hopefully, booking that, series regular and all that good stuff. But there's no shame in still using those skills to do some other things and put good into the world. I mean, and it's going to make you better for when you are, quote, working on your craft. But, wink, wink, you're still working on your craft when you're doing some of these other things.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I love that you brought it up because it's just so important. And I know it's something that I like to talk about a lot, is like, let's find the other thing as well. I'm not saying don't focus on acting, but there's only like 2% of actors like working or making a living at any given moment, right? That's only 2%. We're talking about making a living. That's not the series regulars or the major stars. So I'm not trying to take anybody's dream away, right? Saying that's not going to happen for you. Absolutely have that goal and go for it. But it doesn't mean that you are like, I will only act in film and TV. That is it. Like, enjoy your life along the way. And I just love what you're saying about like, use the tools that you have, whether it be starting a podcast, whether it be hosting other things, whether it be focusing on commercial work, whether it be producing something. Maybe you're like, I'm going to produce, and I've done enough commercials. I'm going to produce a commercial or something now, or a spot for social media. Like all those things you could begin to use. And, when we had an episode with Chase Paris, he talked about how your creative energy can maybe get pent up, right? And it's like, this is how you can release it. Right. And casting can feel that if you do have it pent up and you aren't letting it out. So I think that's so important, so valuable.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make you any less than an actor, right? To be able to do all those other things, it actually makes you a better one.
Yes.
And you come into the room differently. You have a confidence because you're not depending on this one job. You have other things going on. And you've been working on your skills as you've been working on some of those other things too. So it really helps to, I think, to really just continue to build your craft. It's going to make you better.
Yep. I remember years ago, Greer. So we've known each other for a long time,
A long
everyone.
time, yes.
And we met because we were we were running a self-taping service, my roommates and I.
The bungalow.
The bungalow,
How could we
baby.
forget the bungalow?
And and when I look back to the bungalow, everyone, I mean, Greer, you could describe it, but like it was like you were coming into like what could be Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, for sure. The first time I came, I thought, this is either going to be great or I am going to be murdered. I am unsure.
I don't know how we got anyone to tape with us.
Well, then I got to meet you, and I'm like, oh, it's just Jesse. He's harmless.
But yeah, you had to like go down this like dirt road. It was only Dunwoody, but like, yeah. And then I don't know, it was this little house like on this acre of land, and then it was just like woods everywhere. But so we taped you, and you were one of our favorite clients because you always came in prepared, ready to go. You always did a great job. And then one day you said, I told People Store I'm not going to audition for theatrical film and TV auditions anymore. And I remember at that time, I was like, what? What? This doesn't make any sense to me. And I just, now that I look back to it, I'm like, I feel like that took an insane and incredible amount of courage and bravery for you to be able to do that. And I love to kind of hear your side of it, but at the end of the day, whatever was going on in your life, right? There was something that was like, I'm not happy, or this isn't serving me, so I'm gonna stop. And at the time, and I was much younger then, right? So I was like, what? This is crazy. But now when I look at it, I'm like, wow, incredible that you're like, I'm not happy doing this for whatever reason, and so I'm gonna stop. And I'd love to kind of talk and hear from you about that.
Absolutely. So I like to think of, honestly, in everybody's life, you've got a season. There's lots of different seasons to your life. And every season is not the same. And when I look back at that time, we go back to, really taking that step back and getting in the silence and what is your gut telling you. And in that time in my life, I had a very young son. So I was working for the Braves at the time, and that was a really busy schedule. When my son was 4 months old, well, I was married at the time, his father deployed to Afghanistan, and he was in Afghanistan for 8 months. So I was a new mom with this baby, and I was working at the Braves and trying to keep this baby alive. And I was trying to build a career. We had been, before, I had a couple years where we were moving around a little bit for his military career. So I'd been out of it for a little bit too. And so during that time, I was still like trying to do these film TV auditions, and it was like I was trying to do everything. And I wasn't booking them. And I knew that I was a little bit in survival mode, right? And so naturally, I already had a job in hosting. I was working that skill on a day-to-day basis. It was easier for me to book commercial auditions and be a spokesperson or do a corporate video. And the film TV was a little bit more of a struggle. And so I just sort of realized I knew that I had to work at that craft. That was a craft I had to work at a little bit more than some of the other ones. And as time went on, I just realized, and we were also at the time, my friend Beth and I were we were working on a show that was, at the time it was Local Lens. It changed to Unscripted with Beth and Greer. And we put a lot into that. We worked on that for 5 years. So I knew I only had so much capacity, and it felt like a freedom at the time to say, I think that this isn't serving me. I'm going to let my spot be with someone else. I have a wonderful agent at People Store, and I love working with them. And I knew that they were sending me out, and there's a lot of other actors that potentially wanted that spot, that chance to audition. And it just felt like for me, it wasn't my time to be doing that. I needed to focus on some other things. And so I did. And I stayed in that space for a while. It was like I made that decision kind of in a survival mode way. And then I continued that because I ended up, my my son's dad and I split. So I was working on, figuring out, well, how do I do this as a single mom and build a career? And, so there was a lot happening and it was crazy. So I had done all the Braves and then 2 years of the Atlanta's Best New Homes. And what happened with Atlanta's Best New Homes, that was a new season, right? So I had stepped into this new season. And the job with the Braves was really challenging. I loved it. But it was challenging in the sense of I always needed to be doing research, watching games, reading articles. I needed to be on the pulse with what was happening with the team. I was interviewing a lot of people. I was helping to produce a lot of those segments. And I had to be on my toes. And it was challenging in a great way. The new show that I was working for, very thankful for it. But to be honest, it wasn't very challenging. It was a pretty easy show for me to be able to do. So I started to get a little bored. And at that point, life had gotten a little, like things had leveled out. My son was doing well. I was steady and doing my job. And 2 years ago, I was like, I could do film and TV again. Because I had been in classes for acting. I mean, I was big pregnant, taking acting classes and loved it. And I thought, I've got the space. I've got the time. Like I can do this. I want another challenge. So that was actually my goal for last year was, okay, well, let's shift again. And it's time. It's, that feeling of like, it's time to pivot. This is good. And that was my goal last year, but obviously the strike happened. So I just continued to take classes and, work on my marketing materials and all of that. And that'll be something that, I look forward to, diving into next year. But it's all part of that cycle, right? So there was a season where that wasn't going to serve me. It just wasn't right. And for someone else, it might be maybe you have a new baby. Maybe you have a parent that's sick and you're trying to take care of them. Maybe it's a time in your life where you want adventure and you want to go on a great trip and you want to be gone for a while. It could be a lot of things. Maybe you wanted to go back to school for something. It doesn't mean that your other dream you can't eventually get to it, but you might not be getting to it right now. Does that make sense?
Totally. Absolutely. And I just love that awareness of understanding that it could just be a pause.
It's a pause.
It's not a give up. It's not a stop forever. It's based on where I'm at. And you mentioned all of these other things that you were doing and you're just like, that's just not really serving me. And how much like relief did it feel to stop, to really be able to give all of your energy to those other things?
So much relief. Honestly, it felt right. And truly at that time, I didn't know if I'd ever go back to it.
Right.
At the time I thought, well, maybe I will just host and do commercials and do corporate videos. And that may be what I do. And if I continued to be happy in that space, then I would. And I thought potentially that was going to be the path. But it was a relief. And I was able to channel all of my energy into these other areas and to do well. Because I think I've told you before, I'm one of those people where I'm like all in, I'm 100%, I'm going to really give everything I've got, or I'm out. Like I don't do mediocre. That's just not, I just don't like to do that. So I know where my capacity is, and it was too much. But now that things have shifted, I'm ready for that. So it has started to change, and I want to step into that. Now, does it, in my mind, it's like, well, maybe I'll book a day player. Wouldn't that be cool? It'd be so fun, and like, that's okay. And I have to remember, even though I haven't been, doing film TV for several years, but I'm not starting at zero. I still have a lot of experience that I've done. So to me, it's just kind of like part of the adventure. And I'm not stopping doing any of the other things I'm doing. It's just kind of adding that on and seeing where it takes me.
Hey, if you're an actor and you're enjoying this episode, we want to serve your acting journey in a bigger way. So we want to let you know that we offer a free class every single month. We do it on a lot of different things, but most importantly, we make sure that it is so value-packed that you have no idea how it's actually for free. But it's our gift to you to know that we are so passionate to help actors on their journey, and more specifically, help you on your journey. So you'll find a link in the description. All you got to do is put in your email and we will send you our next upcoming free class so you can get so much value. So do not miss out on that. Again, you'll find the link in the description. Enjoy the rest of the episode. I love that you were able to see that you stopping at that time, we'll say stopping, right?
Right, sure.
Like, because at that time you weren't thinking it was a break, but
Right.
so like at that time, stopping didn't equal failure.
I don't feel like it did because I really wanted to do the hosting. And I
Right.
was going after the project that Beth and I were working on. And I was focused on my work with the Braves and expanding that role. So no, it didn't feel like a failure.
No, and you shouldn't. And that and like I think that's what's so important is like understand wherever you're at in your life, if you're doing something that's not making you happy and it doesn't feel like it's serving you, like sure, try to shift some things. But like if you're like, no, this thing is not making me happy, it doesn't mean that you're a failure for stopping. Like it's actually like so much more credit to you for being able to be like, yeah, no, I'm gonna do me.
Yeah.
You're talking about Beth and your show, the show that you created with Beth. Shout out to Beth. There's so many shout outs in this
Keener.
episode.
I know. I love my people.
And so I wanted to bring up this show. And so it was called Unscripted. I didn't even realize I stole it.
Fine.
But when I was going back to it, I mean, I remember when you were doing the show, Greer, and I was like, I was blown away. I was blown away by what you and Beth were doing. And I'm so sad that you guys are not doing it anymore. But if y'all got to go look it up. But I want to talk because you were able to put, I mean, you guys were seriously like Entertainment Tonight in Atlanta. Like you guys literally created it. Like I could not get over what you all had created. You were interviewing Steve Carell, John Travolta, Denzel Washington. Like you were interviewing huge stars. Can you talk about that experience and some things that you really got from that?
Sure. Wow. That was such an incredible journey. And honestly, it brings me so much joy to talk about that project. So it was with my very best friend, Beth Keener. Hey, Keener. Hopefully you're listening. And she actually started it. She started by just sitting on her couch talking about the entertainment industry here in Georgia. And she, in 2014, and then in 2015, she came to me and said, hey, do you want to like team up and do something together? And I thought, well, yeah, sure. You know, because she was my girl and, you know, we loved hosting and we met on an audition. Like we're just like kindred friend souls, you know. So we started in 2015 talking about entertainment. And you probably don't remember this, but our very first episode that we recorded was at the bungalow.
It was at the bungalow. I
At
do
the
remember.
bungalow.
I do remember
And
this.
we did it on a green screen.
Yes.
My hair was purple. So we had, and not like in real life, like just
Yeah.
from the camera.
Right.
So it's so funny to like look back at where it started.
Yeah.
And we literally did. We just started with nothing. We were terrible at technology. I'm still terrible at it. And
No, you're getting
I'm
better.
getting better.
You're getting
I actually
better at
am
it.
getting better.
Yeah.
I am getting better.
Each and every day, you're getting better and better.
I know, I actually am.
In the past, you were bad with technology.
In the past, where I started was a little laughable.
And now look where you are.
And look at
you have
me
your own
now.
voiceover booth. Come on.
That's true. I do. And so we started by just talking about it. And then we started like interviewing some friends, right? We'd interview friends. And then we figured out, well, wait, because we did feel like there needed to be an Entertainment Tonight in Atlanta because we knew everything that was coming here and it was so exciting and we wanted to cover those projects. And then we figured out there was basically a PR company that worked with all of the film studios on their junket, on their press tours. And so we tried to get in with them and started to send them our videos. And they were like, oh, you know, these girls are cute, you know, whatever. They're kind of fun. So they started by giving us like the press tours that maybe they couldn't fill up the press. You know, they sort of like needed people to interview, but you probably have not heard of them, you know. Well, the interviews ended up going all right. They were not so bad. And we were consistent, and we always, did what we said we were going to do. And we treated all of the, guests with respect, and we were usually pretty fun and had a good time. And so eventually we just built a relationship with them, and they started trusting us. And they did. They trusted us with some pretty big celebrities. And like you said, we talked to Steve Carell, and Denzel Washington smiled at me, like really smiled at me. Like, I think we're friends now. I mean, he has no idea who I am, but I mean, I'll never forget it. It's like, oh my gosh, he's smiling at me. I think he liked my question. So it was just really fun. And I was so proud of that job. We created a pilot, and we tried to sell it. We never ended up becoming what we wanted it to. But the last year of it, we partnered with a production company, and that's when we became, so you knew us as The Local Lens, which we were for years. And then the last year we were Unscripted with Beth and Greer, and we had partnered with a production company and in the works of selling it and all that stuff. It was really exciting. And then COVID hit. And then, the partnership with the production company kind of fell apart with COVID, and Beth had a baby, and, so just some things kind of shifted. And again, I guess it goes back to it was like, okay, well, we've put our heart and soul into this for 5 years, and we're unsure how to keep going. So we kind of stopped it. But truthfully, I learned so much from it. And, it just shows you when you start something, you just don't know what it will become. And we booked a lot of jobs, even though that didn't become a TV show, we really branded ourselves as hosts and booked some really incredible jobs with other clients that knew us from that project. And that was a lot of fun too, that, people were hiring us to do things because it was like, oh, there's the girls from The Local Lens. So
Yeah.
I still hope one day Beth and I can partner on something else. I'd really love that.
Beth, you heard it. Well, for a quick side note, I will say maybe you guys were just ahead of your time.
I know.
And now would be the perfect time to resurrect that.
Maybe.
But talk about, what was one of your favorite interviews, and with who, or did you get something really special from someone, or?
There were so many, honestly. I mean, one I told you, Denzel smiled at me, so that was huge. On the serious side, this was kind of wild. There was a movie called Thank You for Your Service, and Miles Teller was in that movie, and it was based off of a true story. And my ex-husband, my son's father, had been in the military, and I feel like I had not dealt with a lot of the emotions of it. And watching that movie, it was so healing for me. And so getting to talk to Miles, but then also the guy that the story was based off of, he was at the story, and we both were bawling in the interview because he was like, we wanted to tell this story for people like you, because it was really healing for me to be able to watch on screen what I had felt, but I didn't know how to communicate to people in my life because they had never experienced anything from the military. So that was just this incredible interview. And then the most fun interview we had was Crazy Rich Asians. And we had 4 or 5 people from their cast with us. We got to interview them at the Fox, and we had such a blast doing that interview. And they had been on tour across the country. And they said, after our interview, we have been in hundreds of interviews, and you two are by far our favorite.
Wow.
And that was a huge honor to know how much they had enjoyed it. And we had too, of course. It had been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I was actually in Thank You for Your Service too.
You were?
I was, but
were you?
my scene got cut, and I was so surprised that it did, because, and since you're so familiar with the movie, I can describe it to you. But Miles Teller's character, because he's back and he's just at a picnic with the family, and it's really boring for him, based on I'll say the excitement he's gone through in war. And so then, because we're all living in this small town, a tornado is coming through. And so we're all we got to get out of here. And he decides to sit on the picnic table when the tornado comes through. So the scene was so cool.
That is cool.
So cool. And I don't know how it got cut, because I was there's no way this scene's getting cut. And it did. And it was but Miles Teller was incredible. And I didn't even realize that him and I grew up in towns that were fairly close to one another. We both went to New York, except I think he went to like Juilliard,
Oh, wow.
and I went to conservatory. But I was like, the paths were,
Paths were aligned.
yeah,
Why did you cut my scene?
yeah.
Well, I hope you
But
still get residuals and all your good stuff from that. So I don't know how that works.
no, I don't.
Ah, bummer.
I know that one was a
Stinks.
bummer, but the scene was a blast, and it was a really cool, fun experience because it felt a little bit like an action film, if you will, because we're like gathering up things. They have these enormous fans to mimic the tornado, and like stuff is like flying by. It was really,
Wow.
really cool.
What an incredible experience.
I know.
Yeah.
But like seeing the movie, I'm like, I don't know why I wasn't in there. Like to me, it like made so much sense.
Yeah.
You know, because I know like when things get cut, right? It's just like you have to see the bigger picture.
Right.
But that one still doesn't make
But
sense.
you're like,
to me.
it doesn't make sense, okay?
This one
I
doesn't
see
make
the full
sense.
picture, and it should have been in the picture.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, exactly. But I just I loved Unscripted or Local Lens, whatever we want to call it, with
Sure.
you and Beth, and it was so good. And like I said, it's filmed, it's on the internet now.
It is still there on YouTube.
Yeah. So can you give some advice to someone that maybe is in a similar situation of they're doing maybe a bunch of different things in the industry, but maybe feeling like because this specific goal over here isn't moving forward, like I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling fulfilled, and that like I guess how to find that happiness within your journey, kind of no matter where you're at. And there's a lot of different things that you can do in the entertainment business, and that there's a lot of different ways to feel great if you put your attention on the correct things.
Right. So, first of all, I'd say just having that balance in your life, right? Like we want to make sure that in your life you're not only getting that happiness from your career, your what you're doing in acting, and that you have other people to love in your life, that you have things to do that you love in your life, that you're taking care of your body, things like that. Those are really going to help. But as far as specifically, like with your career, I think you've got to kind of just I would just lay it all out and see, okay, which of these things are working and which are not working. And the ones that are working, what skills are you using for those, and what are those skills that come naturally? And then start to brainstorm what are some other things, and think a little outside the box of that skill transfers and it does well. Now, I'm not telling you to go and get some full-time job somewhere. There's so many contract opportunities to do things. So how could you put yourself out there in different ways, but using that skill? Because that skill's working. Because when you look at your career, that area is doing really well. Now, you still could have an area where you want it to be better. For instance, like I know that I want to open myself up more for, the film, TV opportunities. Well, my responsibility there is, okay, well, I have to have my materials together, right? And I need to be in class. I need to make sure that I'm using those muscles again, and being, giving myself grace of, hey, getting used to doing the auditions again, and having that freedom, and not giving myself some unachievable goal, So I think with that, it's like, let's have that area that we know we're working towards. But then if there's an area that's working, what are some other things you could do? I mean, are you a great live host or an MC, or would voiceover be a good option for you? Or maybe it's giving back. Like, we are most equipped to help the people we used to be. The person you used to be, that's the best person that you can help to equip, to empower. And there's something about when you actually turn the table and start helping someone else, like you feel so much better about yourself. So maybe you're not where you want to be in one area of your career, but one area you're doing pretty well. So is there a way to give back? I have the honor of being an adjunct professor at KSU, and they have a really cool program. They have a music and entertainment program, and I'm their on-camera professor. And so twice a semester, I get to, go online with them and talk about the industry and different avenues. And I love getting able to talk to these students. It's just a really cool thing that I get to do. And every so often there'll be a one-off that the main professor is like, hey, can you do a Zoom to talk to such and such about, their career? And, opening yourself up to some other areas can be really fulfilling. And it doesn't mean you have to stop doing any of the other things. It's just, well, how can I creatively use some of the things that are working to move my career forward, but maybe it looks a little different.
Yes. And the giving back and the serving is so important. It just fulfills you in such a fantastic way. I think it also helps bring you back to gratitude as well. So important. I can't agree more. You have done a lot of different projects, some that you've created, some that you've booked. A new project that you are creating is Impact ATL that's out. And so can you talk about that and why you decided to do that?
Yeah, so I have missed creating. Like I said, I loved working on Local Ends and Unscripted with Beth. But I know how much work it takes. It takes a lot of work, when you're doing a passion project. And actually, a friend of mine so he worked on Softball 360 with me. So backtrack,
Wow.
almost 20 years ago. And he was my producer, and we worked on this show together for 3 years. And he lived in Minnesota at the time. And I loved working with him, great guy. And he moved to Atlanta about a year ago with his wife and lives near me. And so we would get together, and he's in the industry, and he's like, let's do a project. Like, what do you want to do? Let's do something. And he has such a great heart. And it was like, there's all of these accounts on Instagram, of like best place to eat and, where you should go. And, social media can be so self-serving in a lot of areas. Not always, not like, for instance, the way you're doing it, but it can be. So we came up with the idea of what if we start to highlight it, and I think sometimes Atlanta can get a bad rap from time to time online because, it's just, that's what people are sending your way. And so we love Atlanta and wanted to be like, okay, well, let's start telling good stories in Atlanta. So we're focused on nonprofits, charities, and people making a difference in Atlanta. And so we've started to film content, and we'll start releasing it in January. But it's all like feel good stuff. It's using my skills as a host, and then he is an improv actor, and then he's a great editor, and he can shoot and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to partner together and tell some good stories that are going on in Atlanta, and I'm really excited about that. I feel like
That's
it's
awesome.
going to be really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be so great. I love it. I love it. And I bet there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'd like to do something like that, but I don't know if they feel stuck or don't feel like they have the tools, or how do you move to take action to like, we're doing it?
You just start. You start with the green screen and the purple hair
Yeah.
and the bad script at the bungalow.
Yes.
You just, if you wait for everything to be perfect, to have the perfect setup with the perfect thing, it might not ever happen. So and especially with social media, there's so much forgiveness, it does not have to be perfection. Just start, just do something, just create something. And as you do it, you're going to adjust and you're going to change and you're going to get a little bit better. You're going to go, oh, I didn't really like the lighting on that one. Let's try this next time. Or, I don't like how I said that. I'm going to say it like this next time, or whatever it might be. Every time it'll get a little bit better. And thankfully, usually when we start a project, that's not when we get the biggest amount of views,
Right.
So there's room for trial and error. But if we never try it, then, it's never going to become anything. So you just kind of got to start and know like, hey, I know this is like a D product, like it's not my best work, but it's out there. And then you continue to fine tune it. And then before you know it, you're interviewing Denzel Washington,
I know. Oh my goodness. I mean, I think that's such a good point. And I think also, if you think about like the world that we're in now, daily, hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of content is released. I mean this in the nicest way possible, but like tomorrow you are forgotten if it's not what you hoped it would be. Like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like tomorrow will be better and everyone will have forgotten what happened yesterday anyway.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
Well, Greer, this has been fantastic. And I think this leads us to our spotlight sign off.
Ooh, I know this because I've listened.
Okay, here we go. I don't think I've changed any of the questions, so then you'll know. So the first question is, tell me something that you're grateful for today.
Well, of course, I'm always grateful for my son, making me a mama. But you know what? Someone I'm really grateful for right now in this season of my life, I mean, in all seasons, but is my mom. You know, it's really cool. My mom is now retired and she has time. She's the gift of time. And my mom has always been my biggest encourager. She has been a feminist like from day one. She's like, go girl, get it. You can do anything. And she has the time. So I love this season with my mom that I can get on the phone with her and we can talk about whatever we need to talk about. And she's not really in a rush. And I'm so grateful for that. It's just been this really cool season with her. And she's my biggest cheerleader. So she's so encouraging. And if I ever doubt myself, she's like, girl, you turn over rocks like nobody's business. You're going to be just fine, you know? And I'm really grateful for that in my life.
That's awesome. Having a good mom. I got a good mom too. Does your mom understand the business like really well, or like, because I feel like my mom is always like, why are you not the lead in these Lifetime movies? Like constantly. So I'm like, Mom, I don't know what to tell you, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't work like that, Mom.
Yeah.
You know, no. I mean, she knows enough, I guess, but I guess that's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You know, in some ways, I don't need her to be like a mom manager. You know, I'm grown and she doesn't need to know the ins and outs. I think sometimes just having someone to be like, and not even know the difficulties or the challenges, but you'd be like, I don't care what the difficulties or challenges is. Your mom thinks you could be should be the lead. And you probably will be, honestly. Like, why are you not the lead? Actually, your mom's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's just put that out there. 2024.
Boom. I love it.
Jesse's coming for you.
All right, I like it. But I think this is a great, like, as you were kind of talking, I was like, you know what? There's people that, like, we could kind of maybe like tease our moms a little bit for like, oh, you don't get it. But I'm like, you know what? It could be the other way around where it's like, you're still doing that thing.
Right.
So anyone listening, if your mama is supporting you, you need to text her, call her right now and tell her that you love her and thank you so much for the support.
That's right. Thank you, Mama. That's right.
Number 2 is talk about a movie, show, book, or event that completely changed the trajectory of your life.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the event. I have to say 2, because 1, becoming a mom for sure. So becoming a mother completely changes the trajectory of your life.
Totally. You can't use that one though.
I know. So, but I'm going to say my divorce actually. And part of that is intertwined with being a mom because I think being a mom gave me the courage to do it, if that makes any sense.
Because you felt more powerful as a woman?
I knew who I wanted to be, what type of mom I wanted to be, what type of woman I wanted to be, what type of life I wanted to live. And I wasn't going to be that in the marriage that I was in. And so because I was a mother and there was no choice but for my son to see me as I wanted him to see me and for me to be the mom I wanted to be, I felt like I needed to make that decision. And I know there's so many different thoughts about divorce, but there also are times when that is the right decision and it's okay. And it's messy and it's difficult, but I am so proud of coming out on the other side and everything I've been able to accomplish and who I've been able to become. So that really was such a shift because if I had not, there's no way that I would have done the things that I've done. So I'm kind of grateful for that pain in a way. It was an event that wasn't fun to go through and you never wish that upon anyone. But at the same time, it changed my trajectory in a really good way.
Well, congratulations. Yeah. Question number 3, and I asked this question of is there something in your daily routine that you really cherish? Because I think so often people can get stuck and it's only because they've lost momentum. And so I love asking this question because it's like, hey, is this something that I could maybe steal and put into my daily routine, maybe in my morning or whatever, that gives me momentum to have an incredibly productive, powerful day. And when you have one of those, then you have another, then you have another. And before you do it, you're having weeks of this. So what's something that's in your routine that you really cherish?
Okay, so Jesse, I'm like your wife. I'm like Candy Vandy Zandy. I love that 5 a.m. wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, I love to sleep. So it's important to me to get like 7 or 8 hours of sleep. And so I'm pretty good about trying to go to bed early when I can. And when I wake up at 5 and it is quiet, I can get up. I can take that time that I need to be silent. And I can crank it. So like I can answer so many emails. I can, I can put down, I'll be in my voiceover booth at 6 a.m. getting things recorded. If I have an audition, getting ready, getting that script, prepared, getting that down. By 9 a.m., I have gotten so much done that honestly, I'm ready to take on the day.
Yeah.
Because in our world, what happens is if you don't start doing anything till 10 a.m., the list of things you thought you were going to do that day, well, then it changes because another audition's come in and this is due and the client needs this from you and oh, this happened. Or like, oh, my son's sick at school or la, 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 whatever. All these things start to filter in and then it changes the trajectory of your day.
So
But
true.
if I've already outbeat you and by 9 a.m. I've gotten the most important things done, then any of those things come at me, I got you. Boom, easy, done. I'm available and I'm open to do that. So that to me is a huge game changer. If you can get up and get some things done early, now that's me. Other people would switch it, which I also respect because if you're a night person, then like maybe from like 9 to midnight, that's what your time that like you crank it, right?
Yeah.
Totally fine, respect that. But that might be the time where it's quiet. Nobody's going to need you or nothing's going to change, right? So I think finding those blocks are crucial.
The 5 a.m. Yep. Do you have like the special glasses and stuff? Candace has like the blocker glasses. We call it the cool girl glasses.
The cool girl glasses.
Yeah.
So I wear glasses. So I wear contacts and then I wear glasses. So I just wear my glasses like in the morning.
No.
for
These
sure.
aren't like glasses that you need. These are like, they block out like the light.
Oh, like blue light glasses?
Yeah.
I don't have those because I just have my normal glasses. I don't know if I have to get like prescription blue light glasses. That sounds so complicated.
Or you like put them on over your glasses and you're like a double cool girl.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man, I'm already having a hard enough time getting a boyfriend, Jesse. This is not gonna. This is not gonna help my case.
Not after this episode. No way. All right, drop in the comments if you're ready to take Greer on a date.
Oh gosh.
So fourth question is, what's something you're currently wanting to improve in your life?
So, I mean, we've talked about it, right? So next year, I'm really hoping, to just get brave and get comfortable on that film TV side of things. And then another thing is I just got certified to be a life coach, which I'm
Ooh.
really excited about. So that's another thing that I'm going to be working towards this next year. And again, this goes back to those little pivots, right? When I went through the training to be certified, it's so much like being a host. It's crazy because it's listening, it's asking, thoughtful questions, and it's helping people to find the answers. I'm like, I do this all the time. I've done this for years. Like what this is, and now we just call it a life coach. That's what I mean by explore it a little bit. Like there's things that you can do where you're still using these skills to help you make money, have a living, but then also, pursue all the things you want to do on camera. So anyway, I will start doing that, opening that up to, work with people, help them reach some goals. And I'm really excited about that too.
That's awesome. You're going to be so great at that.
Thanks.
Last question, based on your life right now, all the people you've interacted with, all the different projects you've booked, the things you've learned along the way, if everyone could get one piece of advice from this episode, what would you want it to be?
I think it just goes back to that you've got to remember that there are seasons to your life and be in that season and know that you're not going to be everything that you want to be in that season, but hold on to the things that you do get to be during that season. So it might be a time, like we said, like maybe you're crushing it in your career and that's amazing, but maybe it's a time that you need to help out a family member that's not feeling well. Or maybe you just had a baby. But know that that's a season that you're in and it's going to continue to, the season's going to change. So be open and be willing to know what your goals are, but be flexible and also willing to pivot along the way when you know, like, hey, I kind of feel like maybe I should try this. Well, you know what? Try it. It might be time for a new season. So I feel like that's something to take away. I think sometimes we get so stuck in, well, it has to be this. I have to do this. And yes, maybe you are going to do that. You are going to be a film, TV actor. But maybe there's some other things along the way that you're also going to do.
I love it. Greer, you are wonderful.
Aw.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. It was a blast. Thank you. Everyone, if you loved this episode, I want you to think right now of somebody else in your life that could benefit from it. Go ahead and share it with them. Let them know that it impacted you in a positive way. And also let us know, if you haven't already commented, that you're ready to take Greer out on a date. That you could also tell us if you love the episode.